Hey guys, I'm Trinace from the Aberdeen campus.
And I'm Greg from Edgewood. How's it going? Welcome to our open house. So excited. We're going to be talking about how everyone needs someone to love them and see them in the way that Jesus did. And so when I think about that, I think about when I was in middle school, and one of my fondest memories was when I realized, no more recess. We're being replaced by field day, y'all. It's not the same anymore. Trinice, for high school, what about you? What did you remember?
I don't have specific memories, but all my memories are me laughing with my friends.
That's what's up. So we're going to be diving in. Sean's going to be giving the message. We're so glad you joined us for the open house. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome to our very first Students Groups open house. We hope tonight has been or will be an opportunity for you to get to know who Mountain Students is a little bit better, and for you to get to see what Students Groups is. We're right now meeting on all of our campuses, from Aberdeen to Abingdon to Edgewood and Mountain Road, all at the same time, and we're also in several different homes right now through those joining online. And if you're joining online with us today, we're so glad that you are here. We also are so glad to have some special guests with us tonight, some parent figures joining us. Thanks for making some time to get to know your students' group leader better and have some fun tonight. And on behalf of all the people who love your students, our group leaders, our students team, and your students themselves, thank you so much for all that you do. From numerous rides to places, making countless meals that are probably consumed in seconds, and so much more, thank you. And as we dive into a new school year, it also made me a little bit more reflective of my own time in middle and high school. You see, there's just something about a new school year that feels like a fresh start. And so recently, my friend shared 2 articles released at the end of a school year in a school newspaper from Richmond, Virginia, that were written by a couple of seniors who are just about ready to graduate high school. See, the first article was at the top of the newspaper. It was really big, and it was written by a senior who talked about making sure you completed the senior bucket list before you graduated in a few weeks. And I'm sure maybe you had one yourself that you were thinking of, or maybe parents, when you were growing up, this was one of your lists. But this list said, get on the roof of the school, make a secret menu item in the cafeteria, and carve your name into a tree, and many more things that were just climbing on top of things. But it ended with saying senior year isn't complete without experiencing these things. See, there's also a second article, though, more on the bottom of the page, and it was written by a senior just reminiscing, reflecting on his 4 years at school. And here's what the line from the article said. It said, looking back at the last 4 years, I don't remember much about my time here. The only thing that I can say that was truly memorable was one senior guy for my cross-country team. See, the reason why I remember him is because when I was a freshman, he would run next to me at cross-country practice. He would drive me around too. He really cared about me. And as I read both of these articles, it helped me realize something that I think is true for all of us. See, when we look back on life, we probably won't always remember the things that happened to us, but I think we'll remember the people that we did it with. So let me ask you a question. Who do you remember from your middle and high school years? Now, parents, I really want you to think back to middle and high school, put yourself back in that time period, even if that's something maybe you blocked it out, but what is that truly? And this is an opportunity for you to be able to share this with your student. For students, I'm sure you're thinking, I'm just started middle school or high school. I don't have those names. I bet you do. I mean, even if you just started 6th grade and just have had a couple weeks of school under your belt, I'm sure there's already names of people that are jumping out that you remember. Which, by the way, if you're a 6th grader, welcome to Mountain Students. We're glad that you're here. But let's go ahead right now and take 45 seconds to share your answer. Turn to your neighbor, drop it in the chat if you're joining online, and let's answer this question. Who do you remember most about middle and high school? See, for me, I can remember Kyle and Brandon, who were a grade above me and were a couple guys that I ran cross country and track with throughout middle and high school. They looked out for me. They were people who I bonded with as we ran circles and miles, as we sweated together, running through country roads with really smelly hog farms. I remember even back to middle school, our middle school coach, Mr. Milton, who also ended up being my driver's ed teacher. But he coached for decades and cared so deeply for each member of the team as an individual. See, these names were people who made a difference. In a lot of ways, they knew me personally. And I think that's something that everyone wants for themselves. I mean, to say it another way, everybody needs somebody to know them personally. But I think we can all agree when we look around our school, just even look around society, that's just not happening. See, for every one person who might be known personally, I think we could come up with 3 more who just have a need, a desire to be noticed because they're just maybe even invisible. And in a culture where knowing someone personally is becoming increasingly rare, in a society where there's a mental health pandemic, a loneliness epidemic, a society where suicides are happening more frequently than homicides, this kind of thing matters more than you can imagine because we all need someone to know who we are. See, we can't go through life alone, and it stands out hugely when someone takes the time to know the true you, when someone gives you their full and complete attention, when they find out who we are, when they find out what makes us tick, when they find out our context, and oftentimes they call out potential in us, which I know we all have a desire deep down to be known, to have an identity, to belong in a community, to have purpose for our lives. And that's what Kyle and Brandon and Mr. Milton did. And I'm sure you could add more names to that list from your own experiences, even if you just started middle or high school. As much as this is something I've just begun to really piece together in my 20s with some extra help, this was something that Jesus knew in practice. See, Jesus knew being personal was better than gaining status. And as Jesus is beginning to walk through this town of Jericho on his mission from God to save the whole world, we see Jesus stop and practice exactly that. See, he made it personal. This story directly involves a guy named Zacchaeus. And if you spent any time around the church as a kid, you may have heard the little kid's song called Zacchaeus Was a Wee Little Man.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see.
And I mean, it's a great story, a great song for kids, but I think it's also a powerful story for us if we maybe pause and take a look at it with fresh eyes. See, Luke picks up by Jesus entering Jericho, just passing through, and a man that was there by the name of Zacchaeus. See, Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. If we pause real quick, just some background on tax collectors. You see, tax collectors during biblical times were the scourge of the earth. They were often Jewish people that the Romans conscripted to do their dirty work. And so a lot of times they were viewed as half Jewish, half Roman. And really, in a lot of ways, they didn't fit anywhere. In fact, Zacchaeus in particular wasn't liked by anyone, which we're going to see here in just a second. But at the same time, Zacchaeus was super wealthy and well off. And a lot of times he had just a little bit more status in the community. But here's the thing. Zacchaeus had heard about this guy named Jesus who had this way of life that just was different. And Zacchaeus wanted to see if this man could change his life, to begin to fill this emptiness that he was feeling. Because even though Zacchaeus had everything he wanted materially, there was just something missing, which is what makes this next part so intriguing. Because when Jesus reached the spot of where Zacchaeus was, Jesus looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." And so Zacchaeus came down at once. He welcomed him gladly. I mean, can you imagine what Zacchaeus was feeling? I'm sure he scrambled down the tree. He might have even jumped, and he wasn't worried about breaking his leg or anything. And he was saying, "Wait, Jesus, you mean me? You want to talk to me?" And here's where we find just how much Zacchaeus is liked by everyone else. Because in that moment, the crowd begins to mutter. He's gone to be the guest of a sinner. Why would Jesus do that? And it's in this moment that I think Jesus seeing Zacchaeus, Jesus knowing Zacchaeus' name, Jesus being personal with Zacchaeus, moves Zacchaeus to not only change his heart, but change his actions as well. Because Zacchaeus in that moment stood up and looks at Jesus and says, "Look, Lord, here and now, I'm going to give half of my possessions to the poor, everything I own. And if there's anybody who I've cheated," which probably was a long list, Zacchaeus is like, "I will pay back 4 times the amount." And Jesus said to him, "Today, salvation has come to this house because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." You see, Zacchaeus is a great kid story, yes, but there's so much more for us to see. Because even though Zacchaeus appeared to have everything he wanted, he was simply a man looking for answers, trying to see if he could find what he was truly looking for. Because Zacchaeus, like us, needed someone who knew him personally, which is exactly what Jesus did. See, everyone needs someone who sees them like Jesus did. And in a generation right now that we often feel invisible, everything we do boils down to being personal. So what does it look like to be personal though? I mean, being personal is a little bit tough, but here's the thing. Being personal involves the example that Jesus set with Zacchaeus. And some of what I'm going to share next is pulled from this awesome book called It's Personal. And first thing we need to do if we want to be personal with someone is we begin to need to know those around us. See, we need to pause and begin to see the people around us, not with our own eyes, but with God. We need to get to know their names and to start paying attention to those around us. And once we begin to do that, we begin to need to listen to their story, to begin to talk to them, to find out their context. And as much as this can be scary by starting a conversation with someone that you barely know or maybe even don't know at all, in the end, as scary as this is often one of my favorite parts. Because when we take the time to hear someone's story, it not only changes how we see them, it begins to also change our own selves. And we find out some really cool things about the person. We begin to get to know who their family is, maybe how they've been raised, maybe what their home life looks like, and the obstacles that they have overcome already in life. And it's so illuminating and helpful as we do the final step of being personal, which is really exciting because we begin to call out the potential that is in them and what we see in their lives, and their lives begin to take off and change forever as we continue to see what kind of person they are and call them to something greater, as we call them to do some amazing things together. Now, I know I went through this quickly and we're going to talk more about this in groups, but here's the deal. This process is challenging. It's really simple to try, but it's going to take a lifetime to master. But here's the thing. It's worth it because it costs us far more to not be personal than to take the risk and cost and be personal to those around us. After all, don't we want to be a part of someone's story where we can help them change their life forever, starting today, because we took the time to be personal? So with this new school year, what will you decide to be? Will you decide to continue focusing on accomplishment and achievements and gaining status? Or will you step up and take a risk and give your attention to someone and be personal? Will you be the one for someone in your school that sees them like Jesus does? I mean, can you imagine how awesome that would be to be the Kyle, Brandon, or Mr. Milton for someone's story when they're asked, who do you remember from middle and high school 20 years from now? I mean, here's the thing, because if we do that, if we become personal, we can make a difference that ripples far longer than the time that we're in school. And let me tell you, I would love to be in a community right here at Mountain, right here in Maryland, and even in a world where being personal was the norm, because everybody needs somebody to know them personally. So let's be the someone who sees them like Jesus did.